All right, my next project, it's a pretty simple one actually. It's I should maybe say this, my next coronavirus project, just for history's sake. I got a sheet of 1/2 inch Baltic birch 4x8, and then the one behind it is 3/4 inch Baltic birch, also 4x8. So I'm going to make a couple of display cases for my business. And yes, we're still in business, and I hope that it remains that way. But in between time of my last couple projects, I was kind of screwing around and made this right angle fixture for my sliding push stick for my table saw fence. And what I've got there, I don't know, but I just wanted to try something. I'll let you know if that becomes useful or not. And then the other thing was adapting a micro adjuster that I used for my table saw fence or my fence at the drill press table. And the interesting thing about this was the original design of this. You know, I have one for my table saw fence, which adjusts the fence this way for the blade. And then this was to micro adjust stops either on the drill press or my table saw fence again. But this is how it was originally designed, is this way, so that you can see that was designed to set up on top here, and then my stops slid over the fence this way. They had saddles that went this way. So I had to create something that I could get down to the saw table top here, and I just made this little saddle, and it's got a piece of paper in here because it was just a little sloppy. But it works out nice. So you can see I've got it notched here to wrap around this, so that I can get it back against the fence. And it's a nice snug fit. And that's that. And so now I've got a positive stop down here where I need it. And if I loosen this up, now I can micro adjust, and when I get to the point where I like what I have for a cut, I can lock that down, and now it won't move. So, and then, you know, if I need to macro adjust, I just loosen these 2 screws in this one, and I can slide it anywhere along that piece of extrusion. So that'll be nice. I think that I'll be using this on this project, but we'll see. So let me get things cut up. Boards, all the same width. That looks good. Now we're good. Okay. On to the next operation. Anyway, it looks pretty good. The one thing I wanted to show you was I took a piece off of I ripped a kind of I should measure this. I'm going to call it a 16th. No, I'm going to call it like 3/32. But that's an 8-foot piece, and I can coil it up to 3 times, or 3 thicknesses of that, and that'd make a pretty nice hoop if you needed to wrap something. I mean, that's pretty incredible how that stayed together without snapping in any spot. So the flexibility of this stuff is pretty good as well. All right, things I want to think about ahead of time. These 2-hour match set, what I mean by that is they were cut apart down the middle, and this veneer continues from one board to the other. The boards are sitting on my workbench going this way, so when I fold them up, if this was the inside and this is the inside, which is what I want, you'll see that warp is running out this way. So that's good. So when I clamp it together, when I clamp my shelf material in there, that's going to pull the middle tight. Kind of acting like a caul, I guess, but I like that idea of that happening that way rather than the other way. So I need to lay out what I want to do for spacing. All right, doing the math to figure out shelf spacing, you can work in either inches or metric, and since I'm working with metric material here, I think I'm going to use that as my criteria. So what I have to do is I've got the bottom shelf, which you can't see down there, and the top shelf here. The bottom shelf is going to be up about 2.5 inches from the bottom, obviously, and then that's going to give me an area to make a little pedestal. I'll show you that later. And then in between you have to subtract all that spacing minus the material. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shelves, 7 openings. So my total length is 84 inches if I was doing this in inches, minus 2.5 for the base, minus 3 inches for 6 shelves times a half, and then minus this half up on top. Okay, so that comes out to 78 divided by 7, which is 11.143, which is about 11 and 9/64. Okay, so but if I do it in metric, it's 2,134 millimeters minus the minus the bottom bracket there, or base of 64 millimeters, which is the 2.5. 6 shelves at 12 millimeters a piece is 72 millimeters. Then minus the top one is minus 12 again. 1,986 millimeters divided by the 7 spaces is 283.7 millimeters. I called it 283.5. Cut a spacer, 283.5 millimeters long. Laid it in here, and it looks good. I like the visual that this gives me, so I know that my math is correct. So like, real world check here. So I'm good to go. So